Hey, you're here with the craziest kids in the Carolinas. Totes.
Anna. Okay, so today we're not going to be doing we've done tons of things today, but right now we're not going to be doing a debate
or regular video.
Yeah, we're going to talk about our theories
on Five Nights at Freddy's. 1 through 3.
Okay.
All of them, really.
Yeah, okay, so, let us begin.
Yep. We have the water beforehand this time. We're being even more professional. Totes professional.
So, as you know, if you know, Five Nights at Freddy's is a
very popular game. Very popular.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's 3 was in the top charts in the App Store on iPhone.
Oh my gosh, have you just search Five Nights at Freddy's and you'll find hundreds of different videos, theories, people playing it, and and some people even hating on it, which I don't get.
It's just a game, but it was made by Scott Cawthon. The first one
who's been hated on for a while.
Yes. So the storyline is a little mixed up. So you would think the storyline is 1, 2, 3, but people have figured out that it's actually 2, 1, 3.
And the difference between 1 and 3 is 30 years, if you haven't heard that from anyone else.
Yes. So,
and
it
also
all started with... Wait, what were you going to say?
I was going to say an extra thing. And Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is the very start, basically.
In the storyline.
In the storyline. It's talking about they had an old thing, they left it to rot. But if it was Five Nights at Freddy's 1 being in front of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and its storyline, how could it be Five Nights at Freddy's 1 being left to rot and the old characters from Five Nights at Freddy's 1 being in the parts and services? And you may not see Chica, but he's actually there.
Something that is also completely obvious as to the storyline of which one comes first. If you think about it, in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, on the 5th night, the phone guy ends up dying.
I think it's the 4th night, actually. Yeah, the 4th night he dies, and the 5th night you hear Freddy instead of the phone guy. Yeah, that.
So if you think about it, basically, supposedly he dies in the first one, and if that's true, then how can he be alive in the second one to give you more advice? So,
it's because the second one is before the first one.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm thinking there is another restaurant like the one in the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 before Five Nights at Freddy's 2. So there's an extra one that we haven't seen a game in yet. That's beforehand that. That's before that. And then there's also another one before that where, if you've seen in any of the mini games in any of the games, it was just Golden Freddy and Springtrap or
Golden Bonnie, as some people call him.
Either one works. But it was just those two. Then another pizzeria, which was left to rot, which we haven't seen in another game. And that's supposedly where the older models come in. They probably added more. They probably tried to go away from the toy ones, because they probably noticed, the Predator modes and the new things weren't working right. So they tried using the ones like the older models that were used in the one left to rot, which explains why it looks a whole lot like the ones in the parts and services.
Okay, so, saying that, let's just bring out some of the obvious facts that are just basically obvious in all 3 Five Nights at Freddy's games.
Five Nights at Freddy's 3.
The new one that just came out, it is not actually a pizzeria like 1 and 2. It is actually an amusement park.
Fazbear's Fright.
Yeah, it's an amusement park.
Or just an amusement house. Either one. I think
And
it's definitely after the first 2 ones, because you see there's 2 different panels. There's like ventilation and stuff. There's all sorts of things that you have to keep in check. And just saying, the creepy thing is that Springtrap is from the very beginning, yet he's at the very end. And also, another thing. Are they going to come up with a Five Nights at Freddy's 4?
Put in the comments if you think so. Honestly, I don't know just yet because it took him about a year after Five Nights at Freddy's 2 to make another one, or a couple months. So I at least think that
Yeah, there's two choices, well, there's technically three choices of him making a Five Nights at Freddy's 4.
yeah,
It's having one after Five Nights at Freddy's 3,
or having one that completely describes the whole beginning before even any of the Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, or 3.
or it could also be one of the one that was left to rot that you hear about in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that was right before Five Nights at Freddy's 2,
Okay,
which
so
we haven't seen.
basically, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 it has 2 doors that you can close, power. Okay, hold on. I just want to bring out one that was a theory that I've heard, and I'm basically agreeing with it, and it gets a little math involved, but I saw a video. This didn't come from me. I saw this and agreed with it. But there's a theory that Phone Guy faked his death.
I've heard of this theory too. I've even watched a whole video on it, and it's actually kind of information giving, because it would make sense, because Five Nights at Freddy's 2 has better technology, so it could have been after Five Nights at Freddy's 1, and it would explain why he's able to give you more information if he faked his death. So something to think on.
Because also, if you did not know this, in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, when Foxy bangs on the door, every time he bangs on the door, that takes away some more of your energy life. And if you count it, I don't remember exactly how many times he bangs on the door in the 4th night call, but it is, I think it's like 18 or 12 or something, and for every bang, it takes away at least like 10% of your power.
That's a lot of power.
And even if Phone Guy was on 100 when he was banging, I think that it would still, like, by the time, in the amount of times Foxy was banging, it doesn't make sense that he would still have power. He would have lost power in that time.
Which is why you hear the music box sound, and you hear Freddy. Oh, also, I have heard another theory. This is of Springtrap being in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. And here's the thing. When you see the one thing of Springtrap moving around and jolting about and stuff, and there's a spotlight on him, if you see behind him, there's a checkered pattern. When you look at the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 patterns, checkered pattern. So, the theory is that, you know how you're fired and it says tampering with the animatronics? It could have been that your guy was secretly tampering with Springtrap, and you just didn't see it in the game. And, give me a moment trying to remember it all. Yeah. And so, not only is Golden Freddy in there, but whenever you hear the animatronics being in the kitchen, which is why, the Phone Guy, you never hear him mentioning the kitchen camera being offline. You never hear him mention that. But on the other hand, you hear him talking about Foxy and stuff. You hear all sorts of other stuff except for the kitchen. Which, it's like he's trying to hide something.
Yes.
So, maybe they're trying to hide the existence of Springtrap being in there. And with how you're fired for tampering with the animatronics, that's how in Five Nights at Freddy's 3 he was able to come to life, and they were able to find him, bring him to Fazbear Fright, and him scare you to death.
Actually, let me stop you there because, okay. So, you know how after the 7 nights. So after you finish the 5th night, you get a check for the money, and the date on it says 1987. So that's just something to think about. But in the 6th night, when you get to choose the hardness, I think that's what they meant by tampering with the electronics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do get your point. I see your point there.
Like, after when you're in the 6th night, and it has all the characters, Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, and Foxy, and you get to choose the hardness level on all of them, and that's what they meant by tampering with the electronics.
Also, I have an idea. With how in the second night, with how the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is supposed to be before Five Nights at Freddy's 1, that extra night you're able to change Golden Freddy's thing. But in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, you can't. Think on this. And also, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, I don't know if any of you have ever seen this, but in the corner of your office, when you look to check the ventilation and stuff, you can sometimes see what some people call Shadow Freddy, and what other people are calling Golden Freddy. There's a lot of debate about if it's Shadow Freddy or Purple Freddy, whatever you want to call him, or Golden Freddy. But I believe that's Golden Freddy, because Golden Freddy has showed up in your office for the other 2 games. I mean, in Shadow Freddy, I've never personally seen this, and I haven't watched a video where Shadow Freddy comes into your office.
Yes. And we have to conclude this soon, but one last thing I want to say. This is just pointing something out. All of the Five Nights at Freddy's places, like all of their places, have really crappy ventilation, because in all 3 games you have hallucinations. They should fix that.
Because it's been debated that, you see Shadow Freddy. He's not really supposed to be there. I mean, seriously. How is there supposed to be such a thing as like a Purple Freddy? We haven't seen that really. And in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, it's debated that Golden Freddy in Five Nights at Freddy's 1 is a hallucination. So, hallucinations, second tally. And then Five Nights at Freddy's 3, almost every single one of us has gotten jump scared by a burned balloon boy, let's see here.
Phantom Foxy, Phantom Bonnie, Phantom Chica, and
Marionettes. Oh my god, I hate Marionettes.
That one, he actually doesn't jump
He's
scare
just
you,
in front
but
of
he
you.
stays there and you can see his eyes. Something about
it just
their
scares
eyes.
you.
Yes.
It doesn't even matter. Oh, I'm just going to say one thing. Have you noticed that in all of the hallucinations, they have the white eyes exactly like Springtrap? Just pointing this out. Now, we're going to have to conclude this. We may have a second video soon on the rest of our theory, because this is nowhere near the end of our theory for Five Nights at Freddy's.
Nowhere near.
Or just the theories of other people's theories,
So, yeah, that was our video on
Part
Five Nights
1.
at Freddy's, our theories and thoughts. So, thank you. This has been the Craziest Kids in the Carolinas.
Hannah
Anna.
See you guys.
Bye.
Enjoy your days. See ya. Peace out.
Boom.